Is hang on, sorry,
Now can you hear me? Let me cough.
Thankfulness.
Start over. What do you think of when you think of Thanksgiving? Maybe it's just food. Maybe it's football.
Maybe it's a nap. That's my traditional Thanksgiving position: is reclined in a chair with a full belly. My favorite holiday is Thanksgiving, so I'm going to talk about thankfulness for the next 3 weeks, and maybe you'll enjoy it as much as I do afterwards. I struggle with thanks. I struggle with gratitude. I struggle with being able to accept gratitude as well as giving it, and I'm going to explain that a little bit more in just a second. But there's great value in thankfulness. And it's not just for the person that you're thanking, it's also for the individual doing the thanking. And there's also a real hindrance in many ways to the lack of ability to be grateful. I don't know if you've noticed this. Some people are just naturally more grateful than others. And maybe it's not natural. Maybe there's a reason that they're more thankful. Some people are very unthankful. And I think one of the worst one of the worst critiques you can make of a person is that it's ungrateful, and usually a bad word follows. You ever notice that sentence phraseology, that ungrateful, bad word person? Why is ungrateful connected to something, really bad? Maybe because ungratefulness is really bad. Maybe it's awful to be ungrateful. And nobody appreciates someone who's ungrateful. But when someone is extra thankful, does anyone ever despise being thanked profusely? Anyone ever hated that? Like, geez, I wish this person would stop saying thank you all the time. Never experienced that in my life. Never have. I think it's good. And just disregard Phil's nodding over here. He doesn't know anything about it. Yeah, we'll hear about it later. Probably neuroticism or something. So my family has this really awkward thing that they do whenever there's a possibility of maybe having some emotion arise in a situation. And it becomes apparent when somebody says something like, I love you. Everyone's like, yeah, this is weird. Or they say good job, and you're waiting for the sarcastic thing that comes afterwards. Or any possible thing where someone might display emotion, it becomes just really awkward. Like our friend Andy from the office. Why is that some people are that way? I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's because somewhere way back in time, my family just never showed emotion. And then they continued that pattern. And so it's really difficult for emotion to arise. And I think this has actually caused a problem for me in the realm of gratitude, because I find gratitude does connect with emotional thoughts and feelings. And so I have always had a problem giving and receiving gratitude. When somebody says thank you to me, I'm like, oh yeah, nothing. Don't think about it. It's like, let me try and dismiss the thank you. Why not just say, you're welcome? I don't know why. I'm just being honest. I don't know why that's hard for me. I don't know why it's hard to say you're welcome when someone says thank you. I don't know why it's hard to say thank you when someone does something nice for you. I think there's a deep root in it that hopefully will come out of the discussion if someone else doesn't bring it up. But it has something to do with the way we view ourselves and other people. But I'm not going to say any more about that. Now, secular psychology has a lot to say about gratitude. And it's interesting to me that there's all these benefits. Why is the benefits of gratitude? Improves something health. I'm going to guess that's physical because there's a P. I'm assuming improves sleep. What in the world? Improves psychological health. Increases empathy, reduces aggression, social connection, enhances self-esteem, improves mental strength. Do you notice the common theme between these attributes, these blessings, these good parts of thankfulness? I think it's ironic. And the reason is because all of these things are inwardly focused. You should be thankful because it's good for you. And I think that's terribly ironic because I believe that gratitude is supposed to be an outwardly focused ordeal. When I'm grateful, I'm not grateful to me. I'm grateful to someone else. But there's benefits of being grateful even if you're not, I guess, grateful towards someone in particular, which is strange, I think.
That modern psychology, maybe not even modern, maybe this is older than I know, has identified gratitude as being very helpful mentally.
And evidently physically, possibly, if that's the word physical. Why do you think it is that the world says gratitude is a good thing? Even if they don't believe in God, that's what I'm getting at. That's why I said secular. Secular meaning non-religious. Anything that's outside of, opposed to, or even just indifferent to religious thought. That gratitude is a good thing. The Bible's full of phraseology, terms, and even commands about gratitude. So I think does everybody agree, it's good to be grateful? Anybody disagree? Anybody that's like, no, this is bad. It's bad to be grateful. Everyone knows they're supposed to be grateful. Anybody not know that? Any of you kids not know you're supposed to be grateful? You know that? Turn to 1 Thessalonians. We're going to use this verse here. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Verses 16 through 18. Almost the end of the chapter. Rejoice always. Pray without ceasing. In everything give thanks. For this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Anybody not heard that before? Anybody ever heard you're supposed to give thanks? In everything? I think everybody knows this. Now this is the question. Since everybody knows it, why is gratitude difficult? Why is actually living a life of gratitude a difficult thing to do? Why is it difficult to put myself in a position daily to think thoughts of gratitude? Because everybody knows it's the right thing to do, that it's a good thing to do. It's actually good for your health, possibly. Maybe. If that thing wasn't there. How come only one of the 10 lepers came back and showed gratitude? Is anybody in here familiar with leprosy? You know what happens to lepers? How miserable their lives are? You know what a pariah is?
It's a fish in the Amazon.
No. Yeah, close. What's it like to be an outcast everywhere? Except for with other deplorable outcasts. Does anyone watch The Chosen? There's this fantastic moment in The Chosen where this guy goes to sell some stuff at a pawn shop, evidently. And the guy sees his arm and there's leprosy on it and he immediately freaks out. I was like, get out of here! What, are you going to kill us all? I thought it was fantastic. The way they portrayed the feelings that everyone else in the world has toward these people. And you can assume that there's no escaping that thought. There's no escaping the identity of being somebody who's completely outcast, who's rotting away physically, but also emotionally and mentally. Not just dealing with the psychological effects of a disease that is rotting your body away, but also dealing with the feelings of complete rejection from every other person on earth. These 10 guys shout out to Jesus. Turn to Luke 17. We'll just look at it again. He entered a village. 10 leprous men who stood at a distance met him. They raised their voices. They had to yell because they can't get close to anybody. Because it's forbidden. Jesus! Help! We need some help! Here we are over here rotting away. Master, have mercy on us. And he hears them, and he just says, go and show yourself to the priest. He didn't do anything. didn't touch them, didn't spit in the clay and make some goo and smear it on them. He just says, go and sell yourselves, or show yourselves, not sell yourselves. Go and show yourselves to the priest. Offer the sacrifice for cleansing. As they're going, they notice what happened. Only one guy notices this and then does something about it. And I wonder why that is. Why is this story here? Why did Luke write this down? You remember Luke's gospel begins with this introduction where he says, Theophilus, there's a lot of people writing about Jesus and everybody, is getting their accounts together. I did the same thing. I researched everything carefully because I want you to know exactly the truth of all the things that happened. And here he throws in this story about one time Jesus is walking down the road and he goes through Samaria, and these lepers come out of the wilderness, start shouting, asking for help. The only one of them that comes back is evidently, possibly, the only Samaritan in the group, which means the other ones must have been Jews. Why is this story here? Is it building something in the overall story of the Bible? The overall timeline of how things worked out? I mean, it doesn't really change anything in the scheme of redemption and forgiveness from sins that Jesus healed these 10 guys. I think it's something for us. How do we respond to God's blessings in our lives? How do you respond when you receive an unexpected gift from God? Is it, well, I've been waiting for this for a long time. This is great. I'm so glad I got this. Let me go spend it on me. I really hoped this was going to happen. I thought it was good to see Jesus, and then he did this for me. That's so cool. I mean, I can understand it, right? I think I've lived this way and done this same thing, where I've received a great blessing in some way or another, and then immediately just take advantage of it, right? Because I think that's what those other 9 guys did. They just ran to the priest. They're like, he's going to say we're clean, and we can go back into town, and we can be real people again. And they just get overwhelmed, with the feeling of joy that this is the beginning of a whole new life. And they totally forget how they got there. They forget what gave this to them. Where the gift came from. And Jesus is like, really? I didn't heal everybody? I mean, obviously that's facetious, right? Weren't the other 9 cleansed also? Why are you the only one that's come back? There's no answer to that question, is there? This is kind of like the book of Job. Job goes through all this suffering. He has all this pain and all this garbage that happens to him in his life. And he says, if I could talk to God, I would tell God, this isn't fair, and why should this happen to me? And then God talks to him and he says, I'm sorry, I'm just going to be quiet now. But there's never an answer given. Job never gets a reason. God never says, this is why I let that happen. He never gives him anything. And the same thing happens here. Weren't all the other 9 cleansed? Why are you the only one that came back? And it's left open. And I think the question is for me, why don't I go back? Why don't I return the things that I've been blessed with gratitude? Why don't I run back and fall at the feet of the one who gave it to me and say, thank you for this? It changed my life. It literally changed my entire existence. I'm just going to go live my new life and ignore where it came from. That's kind of sad, isn't it? Maybe that's why ungrateful is followed by a bad word most of the time. This is kind of amazing to me. That even the extraordinary circumstances doesn't motivate some people to be grateful. Because it's pretty extraordinary to be healed from leprosy, to be given a new life, to be able to start over and be whole again. And these guys, they just, well, this was a good thing that happened to me. I'm enjoying it. And I'm going to go on my way. I think there's a reason why gratitude is difficult. And I think it's because it's something you have to practice. Just like Mr. Brain here, lifting his weights. It's like a muscle. I think everything in life works this way, and I would like to know an example of something else that doesn't. That's something that you can have without working towards it. You don't have to practice, you don't have to grow, and you don't have to exercise for it to get better. Is there anything like that? I think God has altered, or not altered, but He's designed the entire existence that we experience in this cosmos to work this way. That if you want something good, there's work that has to go into it. If you want to be grateful, you have to practice gratitude. If you want to be able to handle emotional situations, you have to practice. And not run away and hide in the bathroom whenever people start to have emotional conversations or something like that. Not saying I ever did that. Okay? If you don't regularly exercise gratitude, guess what? You're probably going to be one of the 9. Because in their estimation, they probably didn't even ever consider that they weren't being grateful. You think about that? Do ungrateful people think that they're not being grateful? They probably don't. They probably just don't think about it. Maybe that's how it works. The more I think about what I've been given, the more blessings I recognize, the more grateful I am for what I receive, the more likely I am to be thinking about gratitude. But the more entitled I believe I am, the more I think I am worthy, the less likely I'm thinking about what a blessing it is to receive something from someone else. There's this pattern of attitude adjustment in the Bible, where God expects us to remove ourselves from the throne of authority in our life and put Him there. And where I'm supposed to make myself less than someone else. And maybe that's the first step in gratitude. This thing we call humility. When I don't think that I've been owed anything, I'm grateful. Wow, this is a gift. I didn't earn it. I shouldn't have it. I can't believe this is happening to me. You mean you're actually going to heal me? I thought I was going to die a wretched and miserable leper, hated by everyone. And you made me well again? Versus, wow, I got what I wanted. Oh no. What happens? If you exercise your gratitude muscle, and I exercise my gratitude muscle, and everybody else works on their gratitude muscle as well, what happens? What do you think the impact is on other people when they're automatically amazed by how grateful you are? I think this is kind of what Benjamin Franklin was talking about when he said the best way to make friends is to ask people for a favor. Because when you ask someone for a favor and you're grateful for their favor, they're more inclined to do something else for you. And I think really it's not the favor, but it's the gratitude. Because they see this is a person who's grateful. And I want to do something else because they appreciate everything I've done for them, no matter how small it is. How does that change people? How does that change me? What's the effect on the greater world at large if I choose to be grateful? The verse we read in 1 Thessalonians was, be grateful sometimes. Actually, it's always be grateful. And that means that there's some things that I don't really feel grateful for because they kind of hurt and they suck. How can I find gratitude in that? What does it do for other people when they see me be grateful for something that they think would be awful? They think, wow, there's something different about this fellow. This is an interesting situation. Because I would be complaining and whining, and this person isn't. Seems to be happy and thankful. How odd is that? Maybe that's the different life that we're expected to show as a Christian, as somebody who believes in Him. With all these rhetorical questions posed, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to begin asking more questions in a moment.
Hey, thank you for that sermon.
Thanks for that comment.